I'm 27 years old. I'm a Jerusalemite. The reason why I have close to an American accent is because both my parents are immigrants. My father's Canadian, my mother's from the States. They came to Israel in the 70s. I'm an observant Orthodox Jew. That's how I grew up. I come from what you would call the right side of Israeli politics. I did my high school in a yeshiva, in a religious high school in a settlement called Ma'ale Michmash, which is near Ramallah in the center of the West Bank. I don't know how many here are familiar with the area. And like every Israeli, I joined a draft. In Israel we have a draft. Men are obligated to serve 3 years, women 2 years. If you're a combat soldier, if you're in good health conditions, you'll become a combat soldier. And I joined the draft in March 2001 and served till March 2004 as a combat infantry soldier and a commander, and in my service as a company sergeant. 2 years out of my service were in the West Bank, and out of these 2 years I did 1 year and 2 months in Hebron, which is a big Palestinian city in the south of West Bank. And throughout my service I kind of did all what soldiers do. Standing checkpoints, arrest operations, house demolitions, patrols. And from time to time I had some doubts and questions whether what I'm doing is the right thing to do or not, but very fast, when you're a soldier, you find a way to ignore these questions because there is always something that is bigger than you. There's orders, there's missions, and I think the most important thing there is this bond of comradeship. That it doesn't matter what you think about what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you feel about it. You are next in line and you have to wake up the next morning at 5 o'clock to replace your friend at checkpoint at 6 o'clock, and you will be there. Later on, when I became a commander, it was even worse. Because as a commander, you know that if you will stop to think for a second, it's not only you, it's a whole company. 50 soldiers behind you will start to think. And that's the last thing you want to see in the military. Company that starts to think, that's not the way to do things. And it was only towards the end of my service when I was just about to finish my military service 3-4 months before the end. And I was sitting down with myself and starting to plan my life, how it would look like. Which actually until then I had a clear idea. The script to my life was in a way written down since I was 11th grade, in 11th grade. Finished my high school, of course, joined the military, served as a combat soldier, end my military service, traveled to Canada, to Montreal, worked for my cousin, earned some money in dollars, traveled to India, get stoned a bit, leave things behind, come back, SATs, Jewish philosophy, the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. That was my my plans. And I just found myself sitting down and asking myself whether this is what I want to do, whether this is what I want my life to look like. And for me, this moment of starting to think as a civilian about my life was what you might call a moment of enlightenment. It's in a way the first second that I stopped thinking as a professional combat soldier and I started to think as a civilian. It's like the first second that you stop to see things from inside, you take one step out and you observe it. It's a very terrifying moment because once you stop thinking as a professional combat soldier, you lose justification for 90% of actions you took part in. Suddenly the way I've justified everything for myself throughout my service didn't make any more sense. I wanted to believe at the beginning that it wasn't me doing all this. It's the rifle, the helmet, the uniform, or walking in the streets doing it. I think the strongest thing that brought me to where I am today is this understanding that I had then, that in 3-4 months, I'm going to give back my weapon, I'm going to give back my uniform, but I can't give back what I did and who I became and what happened there. And this strong sense of something went wrong brought me to a place where I felt that I cannot continue my life without doing something about it. The only thing I had was my comrades around me, so I started talking with them. And very fast I discovered that we all felt the same, that somewhere in the back of our mind we all felt that something went wrong. And in a way, this is how Breaking the Silence was born. We decided we're going to do something. It was obvious it's going to be about Hebron, not because Hebron is the worst place we served in, just because we were together there for over a year. And we got out of the military in March 2004. We were 65 people. We put together a photo exhibit and video testimonies about our time in Hebron and Tel Aviv, center of Israel. I must say that we had no idea what we're doing. We had no idea where we're taking it. It was a very personal act. Something went wrong, you put yourself on the wall to scream. And we opened the exhibit and very fast we found ourselves in the middle of a huge mess. For 3-4 days, all what the media is dealing with is soldiers' testimonies from Hebron. We were invited to present the exhibit in the parliament for the next month. Over 7,000 people came to the gallery. I think that month was very important to all of us in the group. But the two most important things that happened to us was, first, all these people who came to the gallery wanted answers. And the media came with questions and they wanted answers. Why we're doing what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. And in a way we were kind of forced to the corner to develop a coherent idea of who we are and what we're trying to achieve. But even more important than that was the fact that if the exhibit was 65 people from my unit who served together in Hebron, suddenly out of these 7,000 visitors, a bunch of them are just like us, young, fresh veterans who served in different units in different places, and they came to the gallery and, hey, we have the same pictures from Nablus. We did the same things in Gaza. And one after the other tell, I don't know if you have in English this expression, the coin drops. You know, it's this... Penny drops, okay.
It's now a cent.
Yeah, a cent. And that's when, we kind of understood that the story is bigger than our unit in Hebron, and we decided to continue on, and we just collected these people, collected their information, and called in a meeting, and we decided to continue, and that's what we do until now, continuing our job. Basically, our work as Breaking the Silence is very simple to understand. The heart of our work is, as our name says, Breaking the Silence, is video, audio taping, soldiers and ex-soldiers about their time in the occupied territories. We've interviewed over 700 people until today. All of them served as conscript in the Second Intifada. So people are very much more or less around my age, 20 to 21 years old, to 29, 30 years old. We published these testimonies in different booklets. Outside there's 2 examples out of 7 that we published. And the second thing we do is we try to use our personal experience and our testimonies as an educational tool for lectures, speaking events, mainly in Israel. And the other thing we do is we take guided tours, mostly with Israelis, into the occupied territories, to Hebron, to the South Hebron Hills, and other places in the West Bank. So in a way of Breaking the Silence started with this concept of let's bring the territories, let's bring the reality of Hebron to Tel Aviv. So now we're trying to bring Tel Aviv into Hebron, so people see, confront firsthand the reality on the ground. It is all, if you want to ask me, what is Breaking the Silence all about? So for us, the story is very simple and very clear. We're not a group that tries to promote a specific political agenda or a specific political solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What we're trying to do is very simple. We're trying to force the Israeli society to confront a mirror of its own. We're trying to hold up a mirror in front of our society and force a public debate about the moral price tag of the occupation, of the fact of sending the military to control civilians under military law for so long. How does it look like? Try to generate a debate about the moral, the corruption process that you go through, you must go through. And bring up the question that we consider as the most important question in democratic society, and that is, what is our moral red lines as a society? What are our moral boundaries? To which extent we stand behind our military, and when we say, no, not in our name. In a way, Breaking the Silence doesn't even say end the occupation. Breaking the Silence exists to say, this is occupation, take it or leave it. Occupation means that our sons and daughters do all what you will find in the booklets.